Okay, hello there. Hope you're all doing well. Anyone who's listening in. Um, Apologize again if I'm a little bit shy or awkward around the camera. I've just never really been good with them, but yeah, again, I'll do my best here. And can't do much more than that. Okay, so I've been meaning to do this video for a while. Um, oh, sorry, just one more thing before I go on. Yeah, apologies if I appear a little bit gaunt. Um, Looking, I've got long COVID for the last 9 or so months now, which has depleted me severely in many aspects of my life and made life much more difficult in many ways. And a recent fast has aggravated the symptoms of that quite a lot. Unfortunately, so yeah, yes, if I look a little bit like white-faced or pale or sunken or low in energies, that's what that is. Yeah, I know there are people trying to use my appearance against me at the moment, but look, that's good. That's a sign. It's a sign that they're desperate, and it's a sign that it's not my appearance that what really matters. It's that they don't really want system change, not enough. Um, um, and they're not serious enough about global justice or justice for younger generations. So look, that's good. At least it reveals that. But anyway, we'll put that on pause and come back to the topic here. This is a video um, I've been meaning to do for quite a while. Um, Primarily, it's for courage. But this technique I'm about to explain to you can be helpful in a number of other ways, with other negative emotions we're feeling, or just physical manifestations of psychological issues that are doing us harm, and thus the people around us harm. So we have a duty to kind of get to the bottom of them and heal them. So the technique is called focusing, I believe. It was discovered by a psychologist from, or at least rediscovered by a psychologist from Chicago by the surname Gendel. Now, this technique could have come about or been realized before in other parts of the world. It seems to me to have quite an overlap with what I understand to be concentrated meditation in Buddhist practices of meditation. But yeah, I'll try not to waffle on about it too much, and just get to the positives it can bring us. So I'll start with just giving kind of a few examples of bodily manifestations of psychological issues. So one, or some of the more obvious ones, for example, that you can relate to, is maybe a feeling of like a heavy heart or a broken heart when maybe you've separated with someone you've been in a relationship for quite a while or something, or but you literally feel that pain in your heart. It's not just an old quip or whatever. That there is something you are experiencing in your heart or in that region at the time. Another example of it could be butterflies in your stomach when you're feeling nervous about something, or a sinking feeling in your stomach if you're very nervous or worried or concerned about something. So this technique is kind of well, the book itself in question is by an author called Kevin Flanagan. And I think kind of the subtitle for the book was Connecting with Your Inner Genius, or something along those lines. So like, I don't know, have any of you ever gone to see a counsellor for this, that, or the other, or just spoken to someone about problems you're having in your life? I hope you have. It's a perfectly healthy thing to do. Um, um, But yeah, you might have experienced in these situations, you ask your friends for advice, or you ask your family for advice, or you ask maybe a counselor for advice, um, but none of them can seem to have the answer, the exact precise answer that you need to get to the bottom of that problem, whatever it may be. And a lot of the reason for that is, or can be, because that person, whoever it might be that you're going to for help, um, they're not you. They don't understand your problem with the full vision that you have, because they haven't experienced the run up of events in the way that you have, or with the depth or intimacy that you have. They don't have all your life experiences to understand or interpret the events or whatever it might be, the problem, in the way that you do, and that is causing you stress or grief or pain. So this is about, I think it's pointed to at one point in the book, about it's almost like becoming your own psychotherapist, which is super convenient for one. I can't tell you how profound it's been for me on a number of occasions with seriously deep issues, important issues. So yeah, kind of coming back to like the point of this video. So we're obviously in a climate and ecological apocalypse. Let's call it straight, or call it straight. Whether you're religious or not, I'm not, but I think the connotations of what this like physical reality is, there's super high overlap with what a lot of us understand an apocalypse to be. So look, yeah, super tough times, right? In many ways, not just in climate and ecological ways, and economic and racial, and moral collapsing as well. A serious threat that we need to peacefully fight against. But yeah, look, really difficult times. What's required of us in revolution, which is inescapable if we're serious about stopping or mitigating this properly, and serious about justice, because we've a fundamentally degenerative economic system that's trapped within itself. We're going to have to do some difficult things. We're going to have to step out of our comfort zone. We're going to have to engage in a peaceful revolution, which is stopping this economic system which is killing everything and ruining other people's lives and non-humans' lives in the most awful ways for a long time. That's going to require an awful lot of courage. And even just getting up in the morning in the middle of a climate apocalypse can be really difficult. Because, let's call it straight, our chances are slim. Obviously we're fighting for it, and it's not okay not to fight for it or to downplay it. That's an act of violence, it's pretending. That's not okay. There are lives at stake by the billion, and that's just the humans. But in these stressful times, we can experience a lot of difficult emotions that lead to physical manifestations or physical issues within our bodies, like some of those that I mentioned earlier, such as terror, such as fear, such as dread, such as despair, anxiety, frustration, anger. All of these emotions, I think in Buddhist practice they're called afflictive emotions. But even like lust for power, greediness, like, they're all real and they have an effect internally. And these afflictive emotions tend to have a negative effect on us, and then as a knock-on effect, the lives we influence. So it's our duty to overcome them. I'll leave it at that for kind of like a backdrop explanation. I'll just get to the technique now. The point of it, I guess, is to like help activists who are serious about justice, who are serious about not exterminating the global south, for example, who are serious about not murdering younger generations, which we are doing by disproportionality and pretending. Systemic barriers to justice aren't there and aren't what they are and require a certain way to be overcome, or certain ways. Okay, so you start by, if you have the privilege of doing so, finding a quiet space and doing whatever you can to find a quiet space. And just begin by letting your mind slow down. Try and remove distractions like television screens or posters, or books or whatever that are lying around that might kind of like activate the mind in different directions. So remember, the technique is called focusing. So it's about focusing on that specific part of your body where the issue is arising. Okay, so you're in your quiet space. You're letting your mind slow down. No TV, phone's off. Put a VPN blocker on your phone if you have a smartphone or whatever. Taking no distractions so that you are in a position that you can actually focus. And if your mind is like super, super busy after like a long day or whatever, I'd recommend waiting an hour or two, like maybe go for a walk or just meditating for an hour or two first or whatever, if you can. Okay, so you're in your quiet space, wherever it might be, and you've removed your distractions. So then you begin the first part of the 6-step process. It's important to follow the process in step, or else you can't realize the kind of profound positives that can come from this technique. And again, I have to reiterate, it's never failed me, ever. Whatever the problem I'm experiencing is, it tells me what the answer is. And even if it doesn't give me the exact answer that I need for it, it points me into the right direction as to what I need to do next to get to the bottom of that problem. So the first point is you verbalize whatever that problem might be. So I'll use an example that's worked for me before and just kind of like go through that with you as you kind of hopefully practice this in tandem with me here, and just like pause the video to like actually do that stage. If you need to, or maybe like watch that stage of this video first and then go back and do that stage, and then listen to the next part. So I'm kind of guiding you through the whole thing. So the first step of the 6 is to verbalize what that issue is that you're experiencing. It's really important here. You're not like trying to like rationalize it with your mind. It's just and just be super honest with yourself, like whatever that problem might be. So one example I used or came across, I was just feeling a sadness I couldn't get over a year or two back. And I verbalized that. You literally need to say it out loud. That's an important part of the 6-stage process. So I verbalized it to myself in the room. I just said, I'm feeling really, really sad. I've tried exercise or whatever, everything else, but nothing is getting to the bottom of this problem for me. So that was good. So I was honest with myself about what the issue was, and then I could move to the next stage. Just important to clarify as well, at each of the stages of this process, you're not asking your mind what the problem is, or what the issue is, or what the solution is at various stages. You're asking your body. Okay, this is like super, super important. If you don't do this, you're not going to gain the benefits from it. And just as an example of like focusing in on a section of your body, if you place your foot, assuming you have one, or your hand if you don't, maybe, into the floor. So pushing your foot into the floor, okay, and pushing it as hard as you can down into the floor, making sure every single toe and every part of every toe is touching the floor. So while you do that, while you're focusing on making sure every bit of the bottom area of your foot is touching the floor, you'll find that you're actually focusing through your foot. Okay, that's an example of focusing through a certain region. Now, that might sound a little bit daft. I can't verbalize this as well as maybe a neuroscientist might be able to. For example, it's in the book if you wish to read it yourself. One of the things it explains in the beginning is not to. You can ignore your bodily warnings, but you'll always learn to regret them. And then he goes into a little bit of the science as to like how messages are received and understood through certain parts of the body. through our gut, for example. So like ignore your gut at your own peril. Is one example, because it's your body telling you, okay, no, there's something seriously wrong here. We need to get out, or it's seriously dangerous, or there's, maybe in an evolutionary sense, thousands and thousands of years back, maybe, there's a I don't know, saber-toothed tiger going to attack and kill us or whatever. You need to get out now or whatever. Listen to those warnings. But yeah, so don't ignore these things. We perceive problems from different parts of our bodies in different ways, and you need to respect the wisdom of that. I'll just come back to one more thing that I didn't mention at the start in the introduction that is important. I feel that the same person who kind of came about this technique, I think he had experienced some breakup or something, and he'd gone to, he'd done everything like his friends and family might advise him to do to try and get to the bottom of it. Get some exercise, eat well, I don't know, maybe do something you enjoy, maybe quit your job or find a job that's more fulfilling or something like that. Go see a psychiatrist, go see a counselor, go see a psychotherapist, go see a different field of psychotherapist or whatever. But nothing he was doing for years and years was getting to the bottom of this problem. But anyway, he was introduced to this problem or this technique, and that was it. He was able to realize an end, not just to that profound problem in his life, but every other one. I can testify to the same. Seriously profound insights, super, super helpful, and not just on like trauma, like just getting to the bottom of like a super, super difficult puzzle, for example, that needs solving. Anyway, so we've stage 1 done. We've verbalized honestly, and we've said what the problem is. So in the example I've used, it's what was it again? I'm feeling a great deal of sadness. So you feel a little bit of a release when you say that, and then you need to ask your body, and this is kind of coming back into what I was speaking about with like pushing your foot into the floor. Then you need to ask your body, where in the body is this issue manifesting? Where is the problem arising? The physical problem resulting from this psychological issue of sadness in this case. Now here's the really important part again. Okay, so remember, you're not asking your thoughts. You're not trying to like play around with your thoughts or whatever. Oh, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe it's this. You're focusing. You're asking your body where in the body is that problem arising. So you need to close your eyes, sit really silent. Again, if you're listening to the chatter of your mind, you're doing it wrong. You're not going to realize the benefits. It's just like move away from that. Now, sometimes the region the problem is arising in can be in the head or different regions of the head or brain, for example. But just don't ask your thoughts. Ask your body. And that's super, super important for the process. Okay, so I'm going to close my eyes now in the way that I did when I was doing it, or this technique upon the theme of sadness. And I asked my body, and I started listening to my body, where in the body is this problem manifesting? And you focus, and you focus, and a part of your body will reveal itself to you as the region where this issue is arising, or causing most harm. And it's important to know that when you're doing this right, like focusing on your body, not your thoughts, your body, when that region reveals itself to you, you'll have full certainty. There'll be no doubt in your mind that like that's the area. It's almost like a little internal epiphany of sorts. And when you've found that like little internal epiphany, then you're ready to move to the next stage. But again, if you've started asking your mind, like maybe it's here, maybe it's there, maybe it's there, you're doing it wrong. Just keep silent, close your eyes, not rationalizing with your thoughts, just focusing until that region or part of your body reveals itself to you. So in this example, when I did that, the region of my body was the stomach. That's where the sadness was was manifesting. So then I moved to stage 3. And again, at each stage you need to verbalize this out loud. It's important to the process. So then you need to ask your body, ask that region that your body, or part of your body that has revealed itself to you as being the source or area where the problem is occurring. You need to ask that part of your body, what does this problem look like? Now again, if you get caught or lost in your thoughts trying to rationalize, and maybe it looks like this, maybe it looks like that, you're doing it wrong. You need to focus through that part of your body, just like you did with pushing your foot into the ground, until you get another internal epiphany again of sorts. Now again, if you're doing this right, the word epiphany is the best I can use, because your body will know straight away, that's what that looks like. There'd be no doubt in your mind or body, like, that's it. So in this example, I was like focusing on my stomach, focusing on the sadness that I was feeling in my stomach. So, what does this sadness in my stomach look like? And I went quiet, and I listened to my body, I listened to my stomach. Sometimes you might need to wait 5 minutes, sometimes you might need to wait 15 minutes. Stick with it. Don't get distracted. If another thought comes to mind, just let it go. Just come back. Focus on your stomach. What does this problem look like? And again, then eventually, just like that, it's like a eureka moment. You'll know it when you experience it. An image reveals itself to you within that part of the body. Now, the image could be as daft as you like. You're not choosing it. It could be as daft or weird or wacky or strange. It doesn't matter what that image is. It could be a shape, it could be an object, it could be a person, it could be a setting. Doesn't matter what it looks like. All that matters is that it is the image that has revealed itself to you, whatever that might be. Now, for me, in the example I've been going through so far, when I was silent, I asked the body, I asked the stomach, not rationalizing through my thoughts, what does this problem look like? All of a sudden, eventually, there was this image of a lonely man on a raft with like dark grey skies all around him, and his head was sunken. He was just really sad and disconsolate. It seemed in the image that revealed itself to me. He was just moving around the raft, just really, really sad and sunken. And so it was a sad image, but it was good that it revealed itself to me. So that was the next stage of the process. Now I think it's stage 4. You then need to ask that image, whatever it might be, doesn't matter how weird, wacky or wonderful it might be, what's the worst thing about this problem? Now, remember, you're not rationalizing through your thoughts. You're focusing, in this example, through your stomach, about sadness, about the lonely man on the raft. What's the worst thing about this problem? Now, I can't remember what the worst thing was that manifested it or that revealed itself to me in the example, but I'll just make one up for now, just so you understand the process. And again, you're not rationalizing through your thoughts. You wait. You ask that image. You ask that part of your body. What the worst thing about this problem is, until it gives you another internal epiphany. Again, you'll know when you know. There'll be no doubt within your mind or body what the worst thing about this problem is, and it's your it's your body telling you, not your thoughts. Super, super important. So what the worst thing about this problem was, I can't remember what it was at the time, but let's just say it was it's debilitating sadness or whatever. It's preventing me from moving on in my life or whatever it might be. So that's good. That's stage 4, and we got the epiphany of what the worst thing about the problem is. Now we move to, I think that's stage 3. Now we move to stage 4. Okay, and this is where the real magic happens. Change your life, I do believe, if you do it right, in really, really important ways. You ask this part of your body, you ask this problem, you ask the image, You ask what the worst thing about this problem is, what needs to happen for this problem to be resolved. Okay? So again, you're focusing through your stomach in this example because that's the region the problem is manifesting. Focusing through your stomach, focusing on the lonely man in the raft in this example, focusing on what the worst thing about this problem is, which is I'm not able to move on with my life or whatever it might be. It's debilitating. And all of a sudden, eventually, it might take a couple of minutes, be patient with it, you get another epiphany, okay? And this is why the book is called Connecting with Your Inner Genius, okay? And this kind of why it comes back to, you might see this counselor, that counselor, this friend, that friend, a family member, whatever, but they're just not able to give you the advice you need. They're not able to help you get to the bottom of this problem. This is where the magic happens. And it's super, super profound. Seeing is believing. Seeing is believing. Anyway, so I'm asking my stomach. I'm not rationalizing with my thoughts. I'm asking my stomach. I'm asking the image, the lonely man in the raft in my stomach that's debilitating my life, preventing me from moving forward. What needs to happen for this problem to be resolved? Again, focusing through there, and eventually, again, just like with the other stages, you'll get an internal epiphany. Again, there'll be no doubt in your mind or body when it happens. If there is doubt, you've done something wrong at some stage beforehand, or you're trying to rationalize it through your thoughts, and you're not going to achieve the benefits from this. So in this example, for me, when I asked the body what needs to happen for the problem to be resolved, the image in the body started to change. Okay, and this is what tends to happen in different parts of the region, wherever you're doing the focusing on, whatever the problem might be, whether it's broken heart or dread in the side of your chest, or nervousness or butterflies in your lungs, or at the top of your stomach or whatever. The image starts to change. And this example from me, I don't know, do any of you watch Rick and Morty? Have you watched it? It's fairly irreverent kind of cartoon, but I don't know, some parts of it are funny. Whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter, right? Okay, this kind of comes back to, it doesn't matter how daft or wacky the image is. All that matters is that it's the real image that's occurring within inside of you, okay? You need to be honest with yourself through that process. So the lonely man on the raft in this example, he turned into, I think, is it Rick in Rick and Morty, okay? And all of a sudden the clouds in the background went away, the sun came out, and rather than the lonely man with his like shoulders hunched and head down, being sad and disconsolate on it, turned into Rick, with a sun umbrella and with his sunglasses on and drinking a cocktail, enjoying the sun, smiling away. No, it sounds daft, like, and like the imagery is daft or whatever, right? The super important thing to understand here is that it doesn't matter what it looks like. The only thing that matters is that it gets to the bottom of that problem, whatever it might be inside of you, right? So now every time, and all of a sudden, because of that image at the bottom of my stomach, it took the place of the old man in the raft. It replaced it. And all of a sudden I started laughing. I started smiling. Okay? Now, like sometimes when like you're upset about something or whatever, and someone says, cheer up or whatever, and it's like, stop telling me to cheer up. I can't. Like there's something uncontrollable, or at least you think it's uncontrollable happening within your body. And in that moment it might be true. You might actually be like physically unable, and they're just being they just don't understand. They might be meaning well or whatever, but they don't understand. They're not helping. But now every time I'm experiencing sadness, I'll just finish the next two stages and I'll come back to that point. The final two stages then are, you need to thank your body, whatever it might be, wherever it might be, for revealing to you this wisdom, this answer that you needed. And then the final stage is You promise your body, and you literally verbalize it out loud again, just like with the other stage. I promise to keep this memory with me, this learning with me. So that part of the reason for that, I imagine, is just to kind of like respect the process and kind of solidify that solution internally, um, so that you don't just like go about your life and start suffering the same thing again without like realizing that like you already know how to get to the bottom of it. Um, it's kind of a little bit like reflective learning in education or whatever. It's just like nailing it down almost, I guess, or deepening its roots. Um, okay, so they're the final two stages. But just to come back to that last point now, or sorry, a couple of moments ago, now every time I'm experiencing that deep sadness, like disconsolation, in my stomach, all I need to do is think of that image of Rick on the sunbed drinking a cocktail with the sun out, and without fail, every time it makes me start laughing, no matter how sad I am, and whatever sadness I was experiencing in the moment before, it's gone. Okay, now that's an example of a physical manifestation of a psychological issue arising in your body. Okay, there's loads of them. Okay, now sometimes like there might be kind of like a lot of different emotions. Okay, and they manifest themselves in various different ways in different parts of your body. Now some of them might seem similar, um, um, but they are different. So like there might be kind of like a deep grief that isn't necessarily sadness. So I might be feeling grief and not feeling well or whatever, and the Rick example isn't helping me, so I need to do a different focusing session and I figure out that it's grief and I figure out that it's manifesting in a different part of the body and that there's a different answer to it, but there is an answer. Um, and again, even if it's not like the immediate answer, like the Rick example, and a lot of times it is, sometimes it's not, sometimes it just tells you what you need to do next or just puts you at ease. And again, it's not just for like woundings. It's for it can help you get to the bottom of like super complex puzzles um, that need solving, which we also need to do in a climate and ecological apocalypse, racial apocalypse, as well. Um, okay, so to come back to the beginning, tough times, right? Um, and if you're actually doing something about it, like if you're actually facing up to these realities and engaging in revolution, for example, like a truly just and compassionate revolution, which is unavoidable and unavoidably necessary and morally righteous. You can't just go around murdering all life on Earth. And where there's knowledge and intent, it is murder. Okay, it doesn't mean you have to go hating people. It doesn't mean you need to put a billionaire's head on a pike. They do have to be stopped physically and peacefully, I implore. On the revolution and the peacefulness of it. But yeah, so there's going to be difficult things. A lot of people are going to say nasty, nasty things about you. They're going to make up stuff. The rumors start flying around because people get scared or whatever, and then they turn into this, that, or the other or whatever, and they cause you a lot of grief or whatever. Okay, that's just one example. It could be a lot of frustration. You're trying to like defend yourself, or just like say that's it's nonsense. Can we just focus on the apocalypse and the revolution that we need? That's unavoidable, or whatever. Yeah, you're going to meet a lot of problems if you're actually trying to stop this, because there's a lot of people coming at this from different areas of understanding, who mightn't understand the science, for example, who mightn't understand the economics, who mightn't understand a lot of colonial histories here, there, anywhere around Earth, for example. And because of that, they say and do some like really, really awful things to you, to the revolution, to justice, for example, or they threaten you, for example, with violence or just ostracization, or blackening your name or whatever, or just, yeah, whatever it might be. You're going to meet some adversity in this, okay? Because there's a lot of people scared, there's a lot of people cowardly. It's another one you can do it with. You can do it with fear or lack of courage. I've done it. It helps a lot. And it's important to have courage. Like, cowardice isn't an excuse for crimes against humanity. It's not. It's not. And people who are blocking revolutions because they're cowardly, they need to be stopped or removed. Just revolution, because they're killing people en masse. It's infanticidal. It's at best genoslaughter. So yeah, you're going to meet adversity. There could be. I know what it's like myself to sit in my room terrified or feel that feeling. It's paralyzing. And you can feel it with different emotions. You can be paralyzed with grief, sadness, fear, dread. There's about 3 or 4 of those emotions that I was feeling before I went on fast at UCD. Like things that would have like seriously hindered me or what's the word, compromised the actions and campaign, which are done to protect our students, staff and citizens of Earth. And to great effect, I believe. Obviously there's no doubt that it's necessary and rightful. No doubt. You'd have to be a silly goose to think otherwise. But yeah, look, it's an example, right? It's frightening. It was frightening, for example. It was like I felt dread of like speaking or frightening to speak in public, for example. Felt dread for what could happen to me, for example. I felt deep grief, for example, that I'd be leaving my dad behind and alone. Someone I love very much. Most of us, I hope, have people we love, and if not, hopefully we find people who we love and love us truly as well. But yeah, difficult things to overcome, right? Like if I just like listened to them or didn't understand this technique, for example, they could cripple me and cripple my actions or cripple the campaign I'd be involved in or whatever. And the same might go for supporters. They get like caught up in fear, dread, or worry about this, that, or the other, and then they don't do anything. They just go back to doing nothing or joining campaigns who are demonstrably or like out loud not doing what's necessary and not even talking the talk. And that's complicity as well. That's pretending. That's pretending the science isn't clear. It's pretending systemic barriers to what's needed aren't there. They are. And that's an act of violence, because we know the system is violent in many, many ways. You can't pretend. You can't just pretend. Like that's not okay. You don't need to do the kind of like sacrifices I do or whatever, but you can't pretend. At least like support us. Anyway, all that aside, practice this technique when you feel dread, when you feel terror, when you feel grief, when you feel sadness, when you feel loneliness, when you feel greediness. Be honest with your emotions when you're feeling these things. Like I could give you a few more examples around my body. Like I'll like skip from stage 1 to stage 6. So like another one was like there was a moment I was feeling greedy, right? And where the problem was arising in the right side of my chest, okay? And when I asked what the image looks like, the image was it was like a greedy man, like keeping something to himself and looking around and not sharing it with anyone else, right? And when it got to the final stage, when I asked like what needs to happen for this problem to be resolved, that man just like he was gone, and he was replaced with this like just like burning sun that was I mean like the sun that like gives us light and heat and energy, just to clarify, but like just burning, just giving its energy, giving its warmth, wishing for nothing in return, and just utter selflessness until it burns out. Anytime you need to be critical about these things when you're experiencing these emotions, for strategic reasons as well. Selfishness has caused the climate and ecological apocalypse. It will not get us out of it. It will not get us out of it. It's what holds the system in place. So every time I experience that now, I focus. I just remember the sun, and it just blows away the greedy man, and he becomes that sun, just like warmth and giving and light and just uncompromising. But another one might be like I was like feeling dread in the side of my stomach when I was doing actions at Trinity College a couple of years ago. I was worrying. I was dreading that I'd never see my family again, or whatever. And when it got to the final stage, we were asked what needs to happen for this problem to be resolved. All of a sudden, the image, whatever it was that was experiencing in the side of my stomach, or in the actually no, the image was originally it was like having to walk on hot coals. That was the first image that came up, similar to the lonely man in the raft. But then when it got to the final stage, the fourth stage, what needs to happen for this problem to be resolved? The fear of having to walk on the hot coals turned into an image of the Dalai Lama just giving me a warm smile, a warm and confident smile. So just a smile of knowing that like what you're doing is right or rightful or necessary or whatever. But there are a lot of them, right? Like I've done it like tens, maybe 100, maybe a couple of hundred times now, like for like a lot of issues internally. Never failed. It's like having your own psychotherapist on tap, right? So find the courage, get over these problems. That is your duty. Heal them. That is your duty. Engage in peaceful revolution with the Mobilise Peace campaign. I'd argue that is your duty as well in an Irish context, because Irish activism has failed and it's not even talking the talk. It's certainly not walking the walk either, and that's not okay. Okay, thanks for listening. Hope this is of help. Take care. Lots of love. Increase the peace. Bye bye. Well, actually, sorry, just before I go, I'll just run through the like 6 stages again quickly, just in case it kind of, again, reflective learning, in case it kind of solidifies it for you. So stage 1, you verbalize the problem out loud. Stage 2, you ask your body, remember, like you're asking like with your foot pushed into the floor, where in the body is this problem manifesting? Remember, not getting lost in your thoughts until you receive that eternal epiphany that tells you where the region is. Stage 3, you ask your body, what does this problem look like? And again, you're asking that section of the body, you're not rationalizing your thoughts, you're focusing through that section of the body until the answer comes, the epiphany comes. It tells you what it looks like. Stage 4, you ask that section in your body, and you ask that, what is it? What stage are we at? Wherever that region might be, and whatever that image is, what's the worst thing about this problem? Again, until you get that internal epiphany that like there's no doubt in your mind that that's the answer you needed. Stage 5, was it then? Stage 5 then is, and just double check. Ask what's the worst thing about this problem, and then stage 5 is asking that section of your body, what needs to happen for this problem to be resolved. Remember, that's where the magic happens. Again, waiting for the internal epiphany, asking that part of your body, not rationalizing through your thoughts or you're doing it wrong. And then the final stages is thank your body, that part of your body, for revealing this wisdom to you. And the very last one to solidify it is say, I promise to keep this learning with me. Okay, thanks for your time. Take care. Hope it's helpful. Increase the peace, mobilize peace, and all that. Take care. Bye bye.